Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I'd like to do another episode of Ask the Nick. So, this is just a series where I answer viewer questions, and I get questions on the Instagram, in video comments, things like that. If you got a question to ask the Nick, go ahead and leave it in the comment section on this particular video, and I'll get around to it on the next time. So let's go on ahead and jump right on into it and answer some questions. Here we go. Okay, so first off, my buddy Ian over at Tech and Tools, that's another YouTube channel, I'll link it below. He does gear reviews of, well, basically all kinds of things, even some more electronic-y stuff. Does good work. He recommended this guy to me in a review, and I've been loving it. I'll have a review of this on my own, yeah. But anyways, check him out. Anyways, Ian asks, so Nick, high-end knives or high-end flashlights? It's a good question. Here are two high-end knives, here are two high-end flashlights. You know, for me, at the end of the day, I think knives are more interesting, just because, honestly, flashlights have a lot of complexity. In addition to issues like batteries, you got circuit boards, you got control mechanisms, I mean, that's nice, but one of the things that I love so damn much about a good pocket knife is the simplicity of it. I mean, this guy has 4 total pieces, not counting screws. And yet, you know, they've created a mechanical masterwork with it. So, you know, I don't know. For me, flashlights are great, and they're wonderful pieces of tools and pieces of gear, and they are great tools. But it's never going to have the same appeal as a really well-crafted knife, at least in my mind. Okay, Falcon Polling asks, Nick, which pocket do you carry your knife in? I tend to be a right front pocket sort of guy, you know, toward the back of the pocket. Yes, any reason why? Well, I mean, the big one is that I'm right-handed, and that my knife fits nicely with my phone in a case and my wallet in the pocket there. That's good. I used to actually carry left side, just because I had a lot of stuff in my right side, but I changed things around, and honestly, it is a little more convenient, especially on a frame lock, to be able to pull it out with your right hand, pop it open, let it shut again, and you're done, you're good. So, there you go. Be on the lookout for a video, though, explaining how exactly on my person I'm carrying all the EDC gear I carry. Might be slightly interesting to people. So, there you go. Let's move on. So, Electric Tactical, a regular commenter, asks any thoughts on sunglasses, bags, bottles, or flasks. So, on the sunglass front, I am blind as a bat without glasses, so I wear glasses on a regular basis. Well, all the damn time, basically. And the glasses I have actually have what are called photochromic lenses. Transitions is the original brand name. And basically, all they do is they turn dark when you expose them to outdoor sunlight with the UV light. And that's beautiful because it means I don't need to wear sunglasses when I'm walking around outside. I'm always wearing my sunglasses. They don't work in the car, which is the big disadvantage to them, but they're still pretty, it's a beautiful thing, and I love them to death, and I wish I'd started doing that a lot sooner. So that's what I do for sunglasses. I used to, when I wore contacts more often, do Oakley's, but I don't have a strong feeling there. So there you go. In terms of bags, I'm a big fan of GoRuck. Not necessarily of the company. They're very tactical, very macho in their marketing, which bugs the crap out of me, but they do make a quality product. I have a GR1 I carry every day, and a GR2 I use for travel. I also have an Osprey bag that's going on, I think, 18 years old now, and is still in great shape. So I gotta give credit for that. So, and I'm gonna review some of this, the backpacks particularly. It's coming, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So that's good. Water bottles. You know, I used to be an Nalgene guy and carry a fancier water bottle. The problem is they were always the wide mouth flasks, and I am very, very good at spilling water down the front of me with a wide mouth flask. And I kind of gave up, and I just moved to these inexpensive little bottles. And so I just grab one of these, and then I carry it until it dies. This one's from South Africa, oddly enough. And so when this dies, I will buy another one and carry that for a while. I probably should look into an actual flask. I don't, for instance, ever throw this in my pack because I don't trust it like that. But it is something, that's how I do things. Should look into better options. I am a gear reviewer after all. And then in terms of flasks, honestly, that's not my scene. I'm probably the only person in the EDC world who doesn't drink based on looking at the Instagram. Everybody's got whiskey and knives pictures. It's just not my scene. I got too much family history to poke that sleeping dragon there. So, anyways, so flasks, I'm afraid I can't help you at all. This is probably a little bit much for a flask, I guess. Probably, yeah, that'd kill you. Anyways, so thank you very much, Electric Tactical. Great question. Moving on. Okay, Matt SXC says, I'm on the fence about flagship model production knives. I've had my eye on the ZT-0999 for a very long time, and I'm not sure how the secondary market will take to its release. Any advice on high-end productions? Interesting question. So, a lot of production companies have really flagshipy models, a high-end, things like that. And they vary a lot by the brand. For instance, Benchmade has their gold class knives, where they take an existing model, and instead of making the griptilian out of plastic and S30V, they might do, titanium with a carbon fiber inlay, and they might do a very special, blade, something, Damascus, who knows. But they basically take an existing model and make it fancier. And that's what their high ends look like. For me, they're not terribly compelling, but if you really love the griptilian, that might be a good way to show it. The prices are way up there, though, so something to keep in mind. Spyderco just released the Spyderco Nirvana. This is the Sleesh Bowie, another of their higher-end knives. But the Nirvana is a $430 version of the custom Nirvana by Peter Vicente. By all accounts, it's a really nice knife, but it's a $430 knife that's by Spyderco, which comes with a Spyderco warranty, which isn't a stellar thing, so you gotta keep that in mind. Is it worth it to you to spend that much money on a knife with a warranty that's, well, maybe not incredible? I'm sure they'd take better care of you if you've got a Nirvana than if you bought a bird knife or something like that, but still. That's something to keep in mind. ZT has limited editions. They're really interesting, but they're really hard to get. Usually they go live on their website, and then they sell out in, 10 minutes or something like that. And then the next day, 3/4 of them show up on eBay or Blade forums for twice the price. And that's really ugly. And so basically, there are two ways to get a ZT limited edition. You either buy it and get really lucky getting it direct from ZT, or you take a huge bath. And I don't like that process. Their limited edition knives are great, though. I can't really argue there. And then finally, an interesting example is Cold Steel is about to release the 4 Max, which is an Andrew Demko design. This is not the 4 Max by any stretch, but it's a $360 knife by Cold Steel, and that's kind of an interesting thing. Because, I'm sure it's going to be a heck of a knife, and hopefully they're going to use very good build quality standards on it. But at the end of the day, if you buy that guy and then you go to sell it, you're going to be trying to get $350 for a Cold Steel. And I don't know that a lot of people are going to go for that, whether that's fair or not. So that's something you really do have to think about. Are people going to pay $400 for a Spyderco on the secondary market? Maybe, maybe not. Are they going to pay $350 for a Cold Steel? Who knows? But that's the danger you get into with with high-end production knives. Obviously, if you're in love, if you want to pay that much money, then go for it. But otherwise, there are great customs and mid-techs in that same price range. Your mileage, as always, may vary. Matt SXC asks, what's your take on Cold Steel? Well, I mean, honestly, they make some quality knives, but they're lost in a sea of Mall Ninja crap. Your Code 4, there's a lot of really good here going on. Or even your Broken Skull, if you're willing to put aside the completely douchey name, you're willing, there's some decent stuff in here. But the thing is, for every one good knife that Cold Steel makes, they make 3 or 4 or 10 really crappy Mall Ninja specials. And so it's hard to have a lot of respect for them as a brand. The other issue is that they have been litigious and they're just really crappy to the rest of the knife world. This is Sanmai steel. It's an old pattern of welding Damascus together. And Lynn Thompson of Cold Steel managed to slip by a trademark for Sanmai 3 as a specific thing. But he's then now using this trademark to send lawyer letters to independent knife makers who are making knives out of Sanmai steel. These are $100 custom knives that are not confusable with Cold Steel, but he's using them to bully people. And when he got called on this by the knife community, he made this terrible non-apology letter. I have all the respect for the custom knife community in the world, and I'm not going after, but I have to aggressively defend my intellectual property. But it's not his property. He was given a poor trademark that he should never have, because it's a 100-year-old Japanese term, and yet he's claiming it like it's his. Basically, he's a bully. And I don't like supporting bullies. And so for me, I'm not going to spend money on Cold Steel anytime soon. If a viewer sends it to me, I'll take a look. And I'll give an honest good, bad, and ugly. Because there's good here. And there's bad, and there's plenty ugly. But honestly, the fact that it's made by Cold Steel and Lynn Thompson is, to me, itself pretty damned ugly. So, there you go. I don't like supporting bullies, but they do make some quality pieces every so often. So Poke Brandon, or Poke Brandon, I'm not sure whether he plays Pokemon or wants to get poked. Either way, I'm not judging. Asks, well, Nick, where do you buy your knives from? And the answer is actually lots of places. I got a different place for every kind of brand. Most of the time, my home team is knives ship free. And they're the people who sell Northwoods. They're good for Bach River. And they're also good on Chris Reeve and things like that. And so they're the closest thing I have to a local knife shop, so I tend to support them. And so that's where I buy a lot of that stuff from. For Spyderco, I usually use Knife Center. Just tradition, they're pretty decent. Blade HQ is where I got my Rat 2, and I've gotten some other stuff, and I got a video from their place online. So they're a good place, too. In terms of ZT and Kaiser, I actually use Carmel Cutlery. I happen to know the guy from the forums who runs the place. It's a little shop in California, Carmel by the Sea, but it's a nice little shop, and he's got a good selection, and tends to let me know, oh, hey Nick, I just got something new in, so I like it. Good stuff. And then finally, I do a lot of buying on the Blade forums and on Reddit, where I buy used knives. And sometimes it's the case, like with the Shirogorov, that you just can't get it new, particularly. But sometimes, I just want a better deal on something, so I'll do it there. And I have a whole Nick's Guide to Buying Knives Used, if you do a quick search for that, or I'll try and remember to toss it down there below. So that's where I buy my knives. There you go. Okay, so Built for Violence, yikes, asks, does a company's founder or main designer sway you in what knife brands you support? As with Spyderco, are you drawn to them more because of how stand-up a guy Sal Glesser is? Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps at some level. I mean, Spyderco is run by Sal and Eric Glesser, and from every report, they seem to be really good human beings, and they're doing the right things consistently. I got a couple of beefs with Spyderco, but at the same time, I mean, they're doing really nice stuff. And I certainly feel good about other designers. John Graham of Graham Knives, every interaction I've had with him and his son has been really positive. Great guy. And John Greemsmo, you see a lot of him on YouTube, and he seems like another really stand-up guy. And so it does bring me some joy to buy knives from somebody I really know is doing decent things. There's the other side of this, too. For instance, I very often follow Knifemakers on the Instagram, and it's great, usually, because not only do I see the knives and the auctions, but I also get a glimpse into your life. I see your shop, I see the wife, the kids, the dog, the cat, the husband, whatever. It makes it just a lot easier, and it makes you more human, makes me more likely to buy from you. John Greemsmo figured this out a long time ago. By being a personality who makes knives, he gains a little bit of an advantage. That's great. And it can go very well. It can make you much more, but it can also go the other way. And this particularly happens when people start using Instagram or Facebook as a sounding board for their own personal, religious, social, political opinions. Because I don't need that. If I'm scrolling through my feed and it's knife, 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 flashlight, watch, flashlight, knife, racism. No, we don't need that. I don't need the homophobia. I don't need the racism. I don't need the religious messages. That's not what the Instagram is for when you're posting about knives. And things like that are more likely to make me think, you know what? Do I really want to support this person? It's not so much that I have a problem buying from people who disagree with me politically, religiously, any of those kinds of things. It's more if you're taking specific time out of your day to bash on people, my friends, my family, or just other people in the world, that's really ugly. And I don't know that I want to support that. Everybody's got political views, religious views, all these views. I mean, but the thing is, it's just like your genitals. I don't want to see yours, you don't want to see mine, and if you start rubbing them in my face, oh boy, do we have a problem. So, in the same way that it's very easy for me to love buying from somebody I really like, it's also very easy for me to be resistant to buying from somebody who is acting like a total jackass on the Instagram and posting things that are really ugly. And so, that's a double-edged sword. You gotta make sure that you're grabbing the right end of it. Great question, though. So It's Only Rain asks, Nick, are you concerned that it seems all the big companies have at least some ugly? Benchmade's got quality control, Spyderco's got warranty issues, Gerber's only got a couple of good products, Cold Steel is over the top, and they got the lawsuit issues, Strider is Strider, etc. Good question there, Rady. At some level, the ugly is a fact of life. You just got to deal with it. But more importantly, you got to figure out where you draw the line for you. For me, it breaks into three categories. First, there are some things that's just not worth it. For me, Strider knives, the whole stolen valor, lying about the past thing really bugs the crap out of me, and so I'm probably not going to spend money there. Medford has a terrible warranty, Medford Knife and Tool. If you read the little letter that comes with it, it's laughable. If you're calling these tools super overbuilt, you gotta do better than that. And with the price, that's a no-go. Cold Steel being bullies and beating up on custom knife makers for using a widely known term, that's absolutely silly, and it makes me really reluctant to give these folks money. And then Omega, the watch company, makes great stuff, but their prices are just insane right now. They think they're Rolex, and they're not. And even if they were Rolex, these prices are out of line. So for me, I just draw the line. Like, I'm sorry, but no Omega, even though I'd love to. Sometimes, so there's the people you just don't do with. Sometimes you got to do things a little differently. So like a Benchmade, because of the bad quality control, you got to buy either used from somebody who you trust to have good quality control, or you got to buy it in person. And just because so you can get a good one. That sucks, but you can still do a Benchmade. It doesn't completely put them off the list for me, but it is ugly. Some companies like Kershaw, your Gerber, your Cold Steel, you need to only look at the pieces of gear that are worth a damn. And that sucks, but again, you can still do that. And sometimes, like with Spyderco, with the bad warranty, with the Chris Reeve, you can disassemble it however you'd like, and you're gonna be fine. With the Spydercos, you just gotta be really careful, because you know that if you screw it up, they might not have your back. And that's ugly, but it's still worth doing Spyderco for me. It's something to consider, though. And then finally, at least for me, there are times where I just hold my nose and make the purchase. Apple Computing is a really great example of this. In the last maybe 10 years, they have transformed into a whole lot of ugly. Proprietary everything, lock-in is increasing and increasing and increasing, becoming less open. It's really ugly. Unfortunately for me, what I do, needing both a Unix command line sorts of things and a relatively compact laptop with a lot of power, there's nothing really better. So even though I really hate doing it, I end up having to give Apple money because there's just nothing better. And I kind of feel the same way about Shirogorov right now. The prices are just out of control. They're just really high. But the thing is, the product is good enough that it makes it worth the while to hold your nose and make the purchase. So there is a lot of ugly out there. One thing I will say is that it's not all ugly. For instance, I've not heard very much ugly at all about ZT. They're doing a lot of really good stuff. They're made in the US of A. They got a lot of good going for them. Similarly, Chris Reeve knives. There are occasional stories of, Chris Reeve said this, that, but they're generally really good. And so there's not a lot of ugly there. So you really got to pick it out. Some ugly you can't live with, some ugly you can live with, and some ugly you just have to hold your nose and go for it. Great question, Rain. And I hope this has been interesting to all of you. If you got further questions, leave them in the comments. And have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day.